Wait, just a second.
Hmm? I can't hear.
No, we are on. Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, Dr. Ali. How are you?
Yes, how are you?
Very good. Nice seeing you after long.
Sorry, time to get you.
Right. Okay. So nice to have you on this Instagram live. I think the sync is where that you are so much into physical rehabilitation, and which is connected with physical health and physical fitness, and I'm into working out. So I think that's where we are supposed to have a conversation. So hello.
I have, whatever I know, that suddenly everybody, most of us start going into this fitness program, suddenly realizing you need to get fit. And then because the one who gets involved too much into it then wants to take that as a career or move forward with it and try to help others. And that's what made you maybe to write the book about it.
Yeah, so I think after the pandemic, everybody's realized that there's more to your day-to-day life than just going to your work and doing your profession and doing your obligation. And you need to have time for your health and for your body, for your mind, and for your well-being. Let's call it 360 degrees well-being. So I think that's where I feel fitness comes a lot into it. And I'm sure you agree that physical fitness not only contributes to your, of course, looking good and feeling good, but also it contributes to your mental well-being, feeling more contented, your entire endocrine systems work properly. And then obviously I also believe in a lot of spirituality. So it's mind, body and spirit. And if you mix these three, I think you can really lead a much more contented life. And I'm sure you have a lot of patients who come to you with physical problems, and I'm sure that's what you advise them.
If you remember, our Nanavati Max was declared as a COVID hospital from the day one.
Yeah.
That's in April 2019.
Right.
We were set to be April 2020. 2020. And we were only seeing COVID patients. We started with one ward and almost all the 300 beds were for COVID.
Right.
So I'd like to discuss a little more on it, where you go. I'm sure you are doing pranayam and you are into meditation. What we saw in the number of COVID patients that we saw, God has made our lungs for a 4.5 liter to 5 liter capacity. And we measure it by a unit called spirometer.
Yes.
We just take air in, and this is for 5 liter. So what we found out, all the COVID patients were below 1.5 liter, below 1.5 liter.
Right.
Somewhere I started feeling, and maybe it will help you, your next mission, whatever you are writing or you're progressing about it. A very, very important part of our body is lungs.
Right.
And if the capacity of the lung was made for 4.5 liter, and I see 4.5 liter only those who are doing pranayam and those who are marathon runners.
Right.
They have 4 liters, 4.5 liters. Even hockey players and cricket players, football players, they are just at 3.5 liter or 4 liters.
Right.
So crossing 4 liters are the people who are doing pranayam or they are marathon runners. So India is ignoring, and I would say more than 70-80% of Indians' vital capacity today or the lung capacity is below 2 liters. And I can vouch for it. So if a little I tell you about why do we breathe. When we breathe in, only 20% of the air is oxygen, rest is nitrogen.
Right.
So this oxygen goes to the base of the lungs and the impure blood comes there. It hits the impure blood. The impure blood taking the oxygen becomes pure, goes to the heart, and heart pumps it all over the body.
Right.
So we need to understand why we need to breathe deep. And one of the reasons I feel why vital capacity is less, that's the only area where government has not put any tax on it. So being Indian, anything that we pay for it, we do the paisa vasool. So I feel the day we have to pay for breathing in India or breathing in Mumbai, we would be, doing the deep breaths because पैसा वसूल करेगा.
Right, right.
So this section, you did speak about wellness and you speak about mental wellness. But I feel there is an ignored part is the lung capacity. So we should all of us try and make people aware. No doubt, if you are doing your exercise, whether you are doing in the gym, whether you are running, automatically the lung capacity increases because you are panting for more air, more breathing, heavier breathing, and that increases your vital capacity. But we also should keep in mind whether there are any other exercises, deep breathing exercises, pranayam, where we should focus on, or shank. If you remember the shank,
Yeah.
shank is a very important. No doubt, it has got. It is written a lot in the Vedas of blowing shank in the morning. So, number of my patients, when I find them their vital capacity less, so I tell them nowadays all shanks are paperweight. You know, people have shank, but they keep it as a paperweight, or somebody has gifted them with the name written on it. Especially when you go to Kanyakumari, you will find shank's name written on it, and they give it to you. But I feel shanks are made to blow. If you can use it every morning, and our vital capacity increases, our overall health, general health improves. So this is one part which I was very keen for you to know. Maybe you have been so much into wellness, so you will be following it and finding out about this vital capacity. Lung can take 4.5 to 5 liters. And I'm sure that most of the Indians, you can say more than 70% of the Indians are below 2 liters, and our females in India are below 1.5 liters.
I think that was highly informative, Dr. Irani. I didn't know about this lung capacity, and of course, because of COVID, everybody is really talking about it. And I'm so happy to hear a person as expert as you from the medical profession is also supporting pranayam. So I also, of course, obviously something which I've practiced from decades. Pranayam also, to me, improves the functioning of your mind and your focus. So of course, I do gym training, which is also one part of fitness. But the other is regulating your mind with your prana. So if you realize that when you are a little angry, agitated, your breath becomes faster and shallower. And then when you're calm and peaceful, or if I suddenly think of the Himalayas just now, I'll start taking long, deep breaths. So I think this is all linked to what you just said, which is oxygen capacity, and increasing your oxygen capacity by regulating your breath flow. And I think that indirectly happens also, indirectly has an effect also on your mental well-being, because we all have day-to-day stresses in our life. And I think with the help of pranayam, we can regulate that kind of stress. So I think that's something imperative for physical health and mental health, that the importance of pranayam is communicated to everybody. And you are doing it as a medical professional, and I think it's really nice that you're talking about this.
But yes, it's very rare. It's very rare. Like I've seen you go to the gym also, and then you are into meditation also. You know, it's very rare. A gym goer is not bothered about anything. Only is happy to keep seeing how many more weight, or whether he has increased the weight, whatever he had done earlier. So gym goers are more into pumping and getting the muscle build up. But this combination of both, and people who are into pranayam and into meditation, they hardly go to the gym. So it's very, very different. So can you just tell me what made you select both?
So basically, Dr. Irani, I have been into meditation since a very early age, of nearly 14 or 15 years as a teenager, very inclined to spiritual pursuits. And in fact, that started before gymming. But what I realized during even gymming is the focus. You recall, like let's say we tell you in the gym that, focus on every repetition and focus on the mind-muscle connection. So even gym become much more productive. There's a lot of focus in what you're doing. To me, meditation increases your focus, your ability to focus. Second thing is that I feel a lot of times going to the gym, we sometimes feel lazy, we keep postponing, we say we'll do it tomorrow. And meditation, pranayam help me get yourself committed, to get yourself consistent. Also, you'll appreciate that during a workout, we have a lot of cortisol and all released during a workout, which is stress hormone. And all this gets taken care of when you meditate and do pranayam regularly. And in fact, your, like what you just said, pumping up and building up, gets more
Yeah.
enhanced if you take care of your stress and negativity and cortisol. And you're whatever you're working out at the gym with better focus and better endocrine organs working, we can see the manifestation better. The last part I feel is eating. Eating right is more than 50% of your health and fitness. So obviously we must eat pure, unprocessed food as far as possible, what we call health food. And that complements your gym. That complements again your pranayam and your meditation, because you can be much more astute if you eat pure food compared to processed food. It makes you lethargic, makes you slow. So, as what I'm trying to say, all these things are very entwined. I think people look at it nowadays in isolation. They put it in compartments. Exercise is for physical body. Pranayam, okay, let's do it if we feel the need. Then we think it's a fad. Let's try. And COVID, it was very well publicized. But people must understand that any life is integrated, and there are all aspects to the life which you have to include into it. And all these things are very entwined with each other, and they all complement each other. They are not in isolation at all, whether it's pranayam, meditation, yoga, weight training, walking, cardiovascular exercises. They are all a bit of it, bit of everything is good. A combination of all.
Yeah. Now I know that you wrote that book called Building the Perfect Body. So I just wanted to know, was it midway? What inspired you that suddenly you thought of penning down whatever you were going through, or whether you wanted the world to know what you feel about the perfect body?
So actually, it was the Miss Shobha Day, who's a famous scribe, and she requested me a long time back to write a book, because she said it'll inspire the youth to really understand the dedication required to fitness and the benefits you get from it. So I think she was the one who gave me the idea, though I'm not really an author. That's not my profession. I just thought it's something which would be my contribution to the generation to understand the value of incorporating fitness into their lives. So it's more like a service to people who want to live a better life, and that's how that book came into being. And perfect body is also relative. Perfection is also perception. It's not that there is an idealistic perfect body. It's the best you can do. So to your genetics, to your circumstances, to your environment, what's the best you can do is by being consistent, and you don't have to be extreme. I don't spend more than 45 minutes at the gym, because that's all. It doesn't take a long time as people think that you need to be hours at the gym. 45 minutes is good enough, 3, 4, maximum 5 times a week. And that's all you require. And I don't think it's so difficult at all.
So you wanted people to know what makes to get into a perfect body.
Yeah, I
So
thought.
it's not 3 hours,
Yeah,
3 hours of gym.
yeah, I thought it should basically make people aware that first, it's not so difficult, and second, what are the benefits for it? And of course, as I said, the 360 degrees of a perfect body, which is gymming and pranayama and meditation, so all I've tried to communicate in some ways in my writings. And of course, you being a medical practitioner, I know your expertise is physiotherapy, and that's how I'm enjoying my chat with you, because a lot of times in weight training, a lot of people get a lot of injuries by doing the exercises incorrectly. And that's also primarily the thing of my book, that it teaches you how to do the exercise correctly. But I'm sure you can elaborate more on the right way, how you should be careful while doing any exercise you do. It's not only weight training, even running. If you run wrongly on a wrong surface, you can injure your knees, or you can have some problems. So I think that's something which I think people would love to hear from you, is how do we take care of our bone health and our joints, and that we do not do something wrong to harm them.
I always put it like that. When you start a car, if you drive a car or a motorcycle, when you start it, automatically we raise it. We raise the car or we raise the bike. It goes on similarly for the body. So we need a good warming up before going to a gym or before running. Any exercise that you want to do, any sports that we want to play, requires a good warming up to raise the temperature in the body. Once the body temperature is raised, the flexibility of the muscles, the tendons increase, and that reduces the risk of the injury. So that's number one. And then people should know what type of sports they are playing. So there are the additional stretching exercises, whether you are a fast bowler or you're a goalkeeper or you are a forward or a back. So there's an extra, or a wicket keeper. So there are extra exercises. One is a general warm-up and then specific to the sports you play, and the third, what role you play in that sports. So if we go through all that warming up and stretching exercises, this reduces the injury. So if you go to see the role of physiotherapy is not only giving diathermy or ultrasound and treating the patient.
Yeah.
We have identified there are 6 to 8 problems which all of us will go through all of it or at least one of it. Like as we grow, there will be high blood pressure, there will be diabetes, there will be cervical spondylitis, there will be slip disc, there will be knee, reduction of space in the knee problem, shoulder problem. So what we have identified, all this could be prevented. So we are more into prevention also now. Like I go to the IT centers in Pune and Injewadi and around. The idea is I know your job, 12 hours, 14 hours, you are on a laptop or computer. So what you should do so that you don't get a neck problem or a stiff neck or a cervical spondylitis or slip disc, low back pain. So this is what we want to bring to the people. Okay, prevention is better than cure. We know now the problem, what one can go through. And of course, when you go to gym also, if your trainer has not been around and you have picked up the weight in a wrong way, you're going to injure your shoulder, injure your elbow or your wrist.
Right.
So prevention should be the forte.
So that's a very interesting topic, and I'm really happy to know your prevention is one of the best things, and you have to lead a lifestyle to prevent these things from happening. So can I ask you, like normal aging of the bones and normal wear and tear, which happens with age, as you just mentioned, how would you best say general things which you would say is good prevention to stop your joints and bones from aging beyond what they should, or how do we create healthy bones and joints?
Doing a blood test, again, the way I said about the people about vital capacity and lung, and on a similar line, I will say more than 50% of Indians have less vitamin D3 and vitamin B12.
Right.
Vitamin D3 takes control of the bones and B12 takes the control over the muscles and nerves.
Right.
So please, and it doesn't come, I'm so surprised, it doesn't come in a normal blood checkup.
Yeah.
If you go for a normal blood checkup, neither vitamin D3 is also not there, B12 is also not there. Which one? There has to be something compulsion when you give a blood test, like your ESRS said, CBS to CBC has been told. Similarly, I think so D3 and B12 should become part of the blood test and it should be compulsory.
So once a
and
year,
believe me,
would you recommend this once a year?
no, you should go once in minimum 4 to 6 months.
Okay, once.
So either twice or thrice a year.
Okay, so that's a very
You
good
can't wait for a year. If you are low, you can't wait for a year.
Right. So I think that's a very good tip for everybody, that we must have a biannual at least blood test of vitamin D3 and B12.
B12, yeah. And it is low. Most of the Indians, it's low. So sometime when the patient comes in, yahan bhi dukta hai, wahan bhi dukta hai, and we know what is it. As soon as we give the blood test, we realize that both were low. Yeah. And especially in those who are vegetarian and on a diet, especially the Jain food, they don't get the B3 and B12 and don't rely on sun. Everybody says sun is vitamin D3. One of my PhD students did a study on 8 football teams. And all the 8 football teams had deficiency of D3 and B12 both.
Okay.
Yeah, and to our surprise, we had only, before doing the test, we had asked them to kick the ball to see how far the ball travels, and asking them to do a high jump and a horizontal jump. And we did all this after giving them the supplements of D3 and B12 after 72 hours. The fastest way is getting the injection methylcobal and for B12 and architol injection for D3. And after 72 hours, we did all the tests again. So one of the surprise that we got from it, everybody's vital capacity increased by half a liter. So that means vitamin D3 plays a role for your vital capacity. And that's why one of the things during COVID, they were emphasizing on vitamin D3 and calcium. So second thing, B12. All Indians have less. And the minimum value, I always want my patient to be between 400 and 800 for vitamin B12. And D3, I used to say between 40 and 80, but now I say you can cross 100 because all the new studies says that vitamin D3 has no toxicity. So whether it's going to be 100, 125, or you can go up to 150. So again, new studies are showing not feeling sleepy. If you feel you have problem with your sleeps, again, just increase your vitamin D3 and your sleep improves.
Okay.
So next time, Yash, when you're doing a test or your friends are doing, see, emphasize on B12 and D3 and you will find 80% of them having deficiency.
Right. Okay. Very, 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 very useful, I must say. And what if you just, for some people, just take an injection without doing a blood test? Is there any risk of
It's
excessive?
cheaper. I always tell my patient, I'm so sure it is less. I always tell them the injection will be cheaper than the test.
Yeah.
The test is costly.
So there's no harm in excessive.
There's no harm. Let it go. And believe me, D3 can go up to 150 also. It doesn't go. It's very difficult to reach 100.
Right.
But even if you go, it's not going to trouble you.
And B12 is just one injection. You have to take a series or course of them.
If you are relying, if you're not getting through your supplements, I feel the methyl cobalt, the new one. Earlier it was Neurobion, which was an oil based. Now the methyl cobalt is water based soluble, and it's much better. And I feel once in 4 months to 6 months, if you take in the injection form intramuscular, it keeps you between that 400.
Okay, lovely. I think this is very, very informative, and I think we should. I do take these occasionally, but with what you said, I should just take it every 6 months, both these. And that's what I.
The right body composition, we say. See, we do talk. Sometimes people only look at the weight. Oh, my, the formula is height in centimeters minus 100. That should be your weight.
Okay.
So again, there's a very simple formula. Suppose you are 170 centimeters, so you can be 70 kgs.
Right.
So 10% above it, you fall into obesity, and 10% below that weight that is there, height in centimeters minus 100, you fall under underweight.
Okay.
So I feel sometimes, yes, you may be accurate on your weight-wise, but then the second test comes the body fat analysis.
Right.
So you may be perfect in the weight, but where the fat content should be 20, 21%, and suddenly most of the Indians are 30 plus.
Right.
Because of the food habit, everything we puri or we want a paratha, then every deep fried things like batata vada, samosas, kachoris, whatever. See, most of our Indian foods have to be deep fried. So that takes it to another level of the requirement of the fat content. So I will not only look at the weight, I will also then try to look at the fat content. Only marathon runners, we ask them to have fat because the fat contents are 10% and 12% below normal.
Right.
Because, Yash, I wanted to understand when you are exercising, the first 45 minutes, it's your carbohydrates burning.
Yeah.
And it's usually after 45 minutes where the fat burning starts.
Right. True.
So if somebody tells me I walk every day, twice a day, morning, evening, half an hour, I will say it is of no use. So walk twice a week, but walk at least 2 hours. Because the first hour maybe your carbs burn and the second hour you are burning your fat.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Irani. But there is, I think I would like to ask a question. There is something called empty stomach cardio in the morning when the carbs are anyway depleted. And at that time you can do, like, let's say half an hour also, probably the fat burning will happen because your body is carb deprived. Second is post weight training cardio. So I've done my weight training. I've used most of my carbohydrates and then I do some cardio, which could, I think, reduce the time required. Do you agree with that?
I agree, but I prefer between the two. I want the body requires high protein during the resting time, that is night, to give all the repair work for your body.
Right.
And the fuel that we burn during, suppose morning you are going to the gym, you are going for a run, all the things that you are doing in the daytime, the right fuel is carbohydrate.
Right.
Earlier, people were 50% carbohydrate, then they wanted 50% protein, but it is now carbohydrate has gone more than 75%.
Right.
So you can go more on carbs during sports, the right fuel. I give example, if you put, your car is of petrol, but if you put kerosene in it, the car will work, but it will have a lot of jerky movements.
True.
So if you have high protein early morning and you are going for your sports, so no doubt you will be able to do, but that smoothness won't be there. The real fuel for your body to burn is carbs.
Right.
So I want protein to be taken at end of the day when you have finished everything and you are resting.
Right.
So protein does the repair work for you.
Right. I got it. So then basically you recommend 45 minutes of cardiovascular for reduction of fat percentage in the body. But also
Your carbs should be over. Like once your carb is over,
Yeah.
then fat sets in. The body has to take carbs from the fat.
Right, right. So I also believe by increasing your muscle component in the body, that's why we do weight training, your
Yeah.
basically metabolization increases, metabolic rate increases. And that way, whatever you eat can get burnt faster instead of converting into fat. So that's why I feel weight training also adds a lot of value to your fat component being as a percentage much lower in your body. And it could be light weight training, medium weight training, whatever, for women, for men, for everybody. I think it's something which is very good for your general health and fitness.
See, I always say for what one does weight training. Like if I'm doing it for a cricketer or a footballer, I want the first set to be whatever weight they can carry. Suppose they are doing 20 kgs on the first set
Yeah.
with 10 repetitions. But I will go the second set reducing the weight, suppose maybe to 15 kgs, and I'll increase the repetition. So I'm converting it into speed and power.
Right.
And the third set, I will still reduce the weight and increase the repetition. So decreasing the weight, increasing the repetition is going to give you speed and power.
Right.
But if you keep increasing the weight, the other way around, those are pumping. They may take 20 kg, next set they will do 25 kg, but 8 repetition. Next they will go 30 kg and do 6 repetition.
Yeah.
So they are pumping it.
Yeah. Correct. You're very right. That's what we do a lot of times.
So for what you need is important. For what you need is important. I would not give it to a person who is running on the field and doing sports. Then I will reduce the weight and convert it into speed and power.
Yes, of course. Of course. No, I completely agree. That's very correct. It depends on the kind of sport you're doing. So technically for bodybuilding, gymming, I think we usually we increase the weight successively, progressively,
Yes,
and reduce
yes.
the repetition.
You can increase.
And that way you build muscle, and that way you increase your metabolic rate, and you also reduce your fat percentage, which you keep monitoring. That's what the goal of gymming is. To monitor your fat percentage keeps decreasing. And ideally it should not be ever more than between 12 to 14%. You can do tests to do that. I mean it should not be more than that.
Other interesting part I'll tell you about is our students have done a study on morning walkers and evening walkers.
Yeah. Okay.
So very interestingly, we have found out the morning walkers are healthier.
Oh.
So if you ask me what is the right time for exercise, I will always say early morning.
Okay. And that goes for any kind of exercise, is it?
Anything. Because let me take you back 7,000 years back. We had Surya Namaskar.
Right.
So in our culture, you get up early morning, take a bath, then come out, face the east, let the first ray of sun fall on you.
Yeah.
And it was called Surya Namaskar long back. It's the record, what we have on record is more than 7,000 years back.
Right.
Then comes Judaism 3,000 years back. And it was said, like Moses said, if you go to the Wailing Wall early morning, your health and wealth shall be protected.
Oh.
So the Jews goes to the Wailing Wall early morning.
Oh, wow.
And then 2,000 years back, Jesus came. He said the first mass is better than the rest of the day. Means going to church early morning is better than sitting in the church the whole day.
Oh, okay.
And then 1,200 years back, 1,400 years back, Prophet Muhammad came and he said the morning namaz, 1.5 hour, 1 hour, 20 minutes before sunrise.
Yeah.
And he said the first namaz should be in the mosque, rest you can do it at home. So now science went after it. So if you see, science doesn't leave anybody. When science went after it, they found out two things common. All of them, 7,000 years back to 1,000 years back, two things were common. Early morning and outside the house.
Right.
So Surya Namaskar has to be outside the house. You can't say I'll be in my room and do Surya Namaskar.
Yeah.
Then going for a Wailing Wall, you have to go to Wailing Wall, which is outside the house.
Yes.
Church is outside the house. Mosque is outside the house.
Yes.
And then came a study called the ozone, the study of ozone came through, and it says 1 hour 20 minutes before sunrise, the universe releases an ozone which is very, very good for your health. So that early morning thing has got nothing to do with religion. If you want to be healthy, the universe is releasing an ozone which is very good. The studies went further, Yash, and the studies showed there is no animal or bird in the world that doesn't get up 1.5 hours before sunrise. So if you have a pet at home and if the door is open, they will go. The animal and bird understand ozone much better than human being.
Right. So I agree with you. Our spirituality and philosophy, religion, scriptures are all actually scientific, and that is why what you just said. And we also talk about Brahma Muhurat in our Vedas, and that even meditation is the best in the morning because of what you just said, the ozone layer and the sun rays, first sun rays, and everything. And I think that's what people fail to understand, that a scripture, whether it is any of the religions and their scriptures, what they are, what they have, are all basically designed with health and science and spirituality all combined into one. And I think people don't go into the reason or rationality, nor do they try and understand. And I think you being in a medical profession, being so expert and so reputed in the field you are, you saying these things add so much more value for people to understand, because when it comes from a scientist or a doctor, people pay attention. When it comes from a spiritualist or a religious leader, people just kind of say, okay, it's some, old fogey talk. So I'm so happy that you say all these things, Dr. Irani. And I think it's wonderful that you actually believe in it. And I can see it. It's like a glow on your face of a lot of peace and harmony in whatever you're doing. And I think it's a great service to people, what you're doing. And I'm actually really happy to interact with you. And you had lovely, lovely tips for people who are into any kind of health, fitness, weight training, whatever. And I think I would, in fact, next time we should write something together at some point of time where we kind of entwine weight training, health, fitness, spirituality, and the medical profession.
Yes, I'm of a belief that we all are going to die. There's nobody who can say I'm not going to die, irrespective of our religion, caste, creed, whatever we practice.
Right.
And I feel that God will ask at least one question to us. Okay, what did you do for my human being?
Yeah.
At that time, we should not be ashamed.
Absolutely right. Very, 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 very well said.
I'm very happy that whatever you went through and then what made you write about building the perfect body, and knowing most of the people, when you ask, even a trainer asks why I started gymming and then I thought, okay, I will teach others also.
Yeah.
So what you have leave behind, people will know you. Whoever reads your book about it, and I'm sure many will now want to read the book. Okay, why, what made you write and what all covered. And I'm very sure you should continue, and your next books will go in more details about the right body composition, why you require the right vital capacity, why you require vitamin D3, why you require B12, what are the sources of it? Because the next question will come, okay, we know we don't have, now how should we have it?
I was going to ask you that question, then I thought it would become too prolonged. So that's absolutely the right intuition you have. And I think all these things should be contained in of course, they're in your medical journals, but I think it should be also in health and fitness books. And I think in that way, I'll be taking your excerpts next time in your advice before I pen anything down anytime in the future.
Definitely. And you will. You should.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Irani. It was really a pleasure to meet you, hear you. And I think the conversation can be endless because I still have a lot of questions which are coming to me when I'm seeing you. And it actually provided a lot of insight into the world of fitness. But I'm sure I'll catch up with you soon on a separate note, and then we can discuss about writing something in the future for people who really believe in health, fitness, and want to lead a healthy life.
Definitely. I'm with you.
Thank you. Thank you, doctor. Bye-bye.
God bless you.
God bless.
All the best for your good works. Keep going on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks.